They laughed. When the human battalion was marched into the observation pit, the chamber filled with the easy cruelty of victors. Commander Vethrix recorded their derision, as council protocol required. He noted for the record that the primates looked small, soft, and shackled. Their armor was stripped, their hands bound behind their backs. The Tribunal of Allied Species was preparing to, and I quote, demonstrate the futility of resistance. The observation chamber hung above the battlefield like a glass wound in the sky, a neutral platform where observers could watch without consequence. Vethrix had been ordered to watch closely, to document human combat performance, so the Council could justify their final annexation of the species. Below, the plains of Karsus burned with controlled fires. Alien shock troops stood in flawless geometric formations, their advanced weapons humming with plasma readiness. And then there were the humans. Just 3 companies marched into a shallow basin, surrounded by pre-sighted kill zones. Vethrix felt a flicker of pity, but it was quickly smothered by his training. The humans had already lost. Their ships were primitive. Their tactics were predictable. Their species was defiant, sure, but utterly unsophisticated. This wasn't a battle. It was a lesson, an execution with extra steps. The setup unfolded with a ceremonial slowness. Translators broadcast the Council's verdict across the field, declaring humanity guilty of unauthorized expansion, cultural aggression, and a stubborn refusal to submit to their obvious superiors. A single human officer stood at the front of his formation. His helmet was removed, his face streaked with soot, but his eyes were steady despite the restraints biting into his wrists. He didn't beg. He didn't shout. He simply listened, his jaw tight, as the Council granted him the courtesy of final words. He said only 2, request denied. Vethrix frowned. He was uncertain why that simple phrase sent a ripple of unease through the chamber. The signal was given. Alien artillery locked in. The restraints on the humans disengaged, not as an act of mercy, but to allow for a fair demonstration of their inevitable failure. The first salvo struck dirt, and fire leapt skyward. The humans ran, exactly as expected, scattering for cover that didn't exist. Their movements were frantic, desperate. Laughter echoed again among the observers in the skybox. Vethrix dutifully logged the chaos, the predictable collapse of primate morale. Yet as the minutes passed, something felt off. The humans weren't firing wildly. They weren't making futile charges. They were moving with a strange purpose, deliberately drawing fire, herding the attackers forward into specific zones. Impatient, the alien commanders ordered a full advance, confident that their overwhelming numbers and superior technology would crush the prey once and for all. That was when the ground changed. The basin erupted. Buried charges detonated in a precise rolling sequence. They weren't large enough to obliterate entire units, but they were powerful enough to shatter formations, to throw platoons into disarray, and to channel the survivors into narrow corridors of smoke and debris. From hidden positions, human fire teams emerged. Their weapons barked in disciplined, short bursts. They weren't aiming for center mass. They were targeting joints, optical sensors, and command nodes on the alien walkers and heavy infantry. Vethrix leaned closer to the glass, his recording claws trembling as he realized these were not random traps. They were rehearsed, calculated. The humans had somehow mapped this terrain before they ever set foot on it. Alien casualty rates spiked. Confusion flooded the command channels. Frantic requests for orbital strikes were denied. The Council had forbidden any escalation. To preserve the integrity of the lesson, more humans fell, yes, but each loss was an investment. Each falling soldier bought time, space, and pressure. Subtle indicators flashed across Vethrix's console. Alien units were retreating without orders. Communication lag was increasing. Morale was degrading at an alarming rate. Still, the Council remained confident. Attrition favors us, an elder intoned, his voice dripping with condescension. Then the turning point came, and it was quiet and devastating. The human officer, still standing near the center of the chaos, keyed a small transmitter embedded in his collar. A single word pulsed across encrypted channels that Vethrix wasn't cleared to hear, but the battlefield responded instantly. The sky darkened, not with ships, but with falling debris. Alien drones, the eyes and ears of the ground force, began to spiral out of the air, their systems overridden by a cascading signal, a digital plague. From concealed dugouts, human engineers previously dismissed as mere technicians emerged. They operated compact devices that screamed with electromagnetic fury, frying the targeting arrays of the alien forces, turning their advanced plasma weapons into dead weight. This wasn't brute force. This was a deep, intimate understanding of their enemy's technology. The aliens had built their systems for dominance. The humans had built theirs for denial. Panic finally crept into the observation pit. Counselors started to argue. Orders began to conflict. On the ground, the alien troops tried to regroup, only to find humans everywhere and nowhere at once. They struck from the smoke, vanished into the wreckage, bleeding but utterly unbroken. Vethrix felt something he had never logged before: fear. It wasn't the fear of defeat. It was the chilling fear of a profound, catastrophic misjudgment. He had seen the file on humanity. He had read the reports. None of it had prepared him for this. The climax arrived when the alien commander, his formation shattered, attempted a full withdrawal. He found his only exit sealed. Rolling out of the smoke came human armor-crewed machines cobbled together from scavenged parts, ugly, loud, and terrifyingly effective in their refusal to die. The humans didn't cheer. They didn't taunt their broken foe. They just advanced, methodical and relentless, forcing surrender after surrender until the basin was silent, save for the crackling of fires and the ragged breathing of survivors. The council chamber was deathly quiet. No one was laughing now. Vethrix watched as the human officer stood amid the wreckage, his sleeves stained with blood, his posture ramrod straight. He looked up, directly at the observation chamber, at the beings who had condemned his people just an hour before. He did not threaten. He did not boast. He simply raised a hand and keyed his transmitter again. This time, the message was broadcast on an open channel, clear for all to hear, even for Vethrix. Observation complete. In the aftermath, treaties were rewritten in hurried, careful language. Humanity was reclassified, no longer a subject species to be conquered, but a strategic equal to be respected. Military doctrines across the galaxy were revised overnight to account for asymmetrical resilience, for the grave danger of assuming an enemy's weakness based on their appearance or their technology. Weeks later, Vethrix submitted his final report, his hand steady once more. He concluded it with a single line that the council tried and failed to suppress from the official record. Humans do not fight to win battles. They fight to make sure you regret starting one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next dive into science fiction. See you in the next one.